I'm now going to show you how to glue your Lyla May handbag into a purse frame. So you'll need your handbag, your sewn handbag, a frame, your glue. I use Amazing Goop Craft, the craft version. E6000 works well, Gutermann works well. You want something that's not too runny and that says that it's safe for metal and fabric. You want a knife, butter knife, toothpick if the head of your glue is too thick to go in the channel of the purse, and something that some sort of chalk or erasable marker that you can mark the fabric of your purse. So I don't know if you can see this because it's blue on blue, but I've already marked the center part of my purse on the inside, and that will help me to make sure I have the purse in the frame, the correct place in the frame. One thing I like to do, especially for a new pattern like this, I like to dry fit my purse in the frame. So what I'll do is I will just see how it's going to fit in the frame. This might be beneficial for you if you've never done a frame before. And I make sure this center part matches up to here. The center part of the frame is where these two balls intersect. And so that's where I need the center of my frame. And then I use my knife and I push the purse up into the frame all the way around. Okay, and that's one of the sides. I'm not going to do the other side, but you can if you want. And this is just a good way to get an idea of how this is going to fit in the frame, where you need to position things, how hard you need to push the knife in and out. Okay, so I will set my purse aside. Ideally, the tip of your glue will fit right in the channel, but mine doesn't. So I use a toothpick, and I put it on the end of the toothpick, and then I just spread it on the inside of the channel. You'll want it along both edges of the channel. It needs to be not super thick, but it will, as it dries, it will contract a bit. So I put it on there pretty generously. If there's any gloppy parts, I don't know. If there's any really thick parts, I do try to smooth it down with my toothpick. And I don't worry too much about little bits getting on the outside of the frame, like right here, because once the glue has dried just a little bit, I will pull those pieces right off. If this is your first time, you might just want doing a frame like this. You might want to do just one side at a time. However, while that does work, that means that you're going to have to be putting glue on a frame while the other half is attached to the purse. which I think sounds really difficult, because what if you get glue on the other side of the purse? This way, if you do both sides at once, you can move around the purse frame really easily. If you use these frames with a little bit, or with these little hinge type loops, the frame gets a little bit narrower right there where the loop is. So just keep that in mind when you're putting it on your purse. I always put that side on, this side, this purse I turned through a gap. And when I did that, one side of the purse ends up just a little less thick than the other side, because this, where the gap was, the seam allowance doesn't get trimmed away. So I'll make sure to keep the thinner side right here. Now the thing about these chain loops is they have a pretty small opening, so I cannot attach my strap, the strap that the pattern calls for, to this. I'm going to use a chain. But I've got another frame with loops like this, and that works well for attaching a swivel hook. This is probably really boring to watch. It's kind of boring to do it too. It's not my favorite part of purse making, but I do love the result. I look around, make sure I don't have any spots that look like they're missing glue. If I have any parts that is really thick, I make sure to spread it out. And I'm going to set this aside for just a couple of minutes. This is fairly fast drying, so I'm not going to let it stay for very long, but I am going to let it dry just a couple of minutes so it's set a bit. Okay, before I put the purse in the frame, I'm going to go around and pick off any little pieces that are poking out from the side of the frame, because I want to, they're really easy to pull off at this point. Okay. All right. Okay, on this purse pattern, I like to start with the center and then move to the corner. Other patterns, I might start with the corner, but right here, it's just better to make sure you have this matched up in the center first. So I match this up in the center. Try to push it in my frame a little bit. Then I fold this side down in half. At which point the corner kind of pokes up. Take my knife and I push it up. And then I move down the side and push that side in. I make sure that my center is still in the center. And I fold this side down. And then I push this corner in. Now this is a lot easier with foam. I'm going to also make a video of me doing a Decovil purse in the frame, and it can be very frustrating because the moment you push it in one place, it pops out the other side. But foam doesn't do that nearly as much. Still, this purse does like to pop out just because it's so wide. I can just keep poking the areas that try to slip out. And then I regularly will just clean off the top of my knife with my fingers because sometimes little bits of wet glue get on there and I don't want to smear that on the rest of my purse. When I feel pretty good about the inside, I start poking the outside. And now I'm going to go to the other side of the purse. I'm not sure that I took care to put this thinner side on next to the chain loops like I meant to do. Oh well. So pull the center piece over right where it's supposed to be. Right here I've got some wet glue that's trying to come out. So I'm going to kind of pull that out of the way before it ends up smearing itself on my fabric. Once it smears on the fabric, it's really hard to get off. Though I've had some success with using nail polish remover. Sometimes it really needs to be poked from the exterior before it can get in all the way, because you can see it's kind of folded itself back a bit. Normally I do push it in on the outside, on these sides too for other patterns, but for this pattern, if I start to do that, I'm afraid I'll pull the whole thing out. So I'm just going to open it back up and push it in from the inside again. I'll keep trying to make sure all of my top stitching is inside the frame and not visible. Now, it would be really smart if I didn't use a butter knife with a serrated edge, but I really like this knife otherwise. So sometimes I just put up with red fingers because it works pretty well. You can see it keeps trying to pull out down here, so I just keep pushing it back in. Okay, if it absolutely will not stay in place without popping out, sometimes I will just poke it in place and just hold it for a while. Just watch a TV show or something and just hold it. But I think this is going to work now as long as I don't touch it too much. And I don't close it. I'm not going to close this. I'm going to let it dry open. My other purse pattern, the Flourish clutch, can be, you can close it or open it when it's drying. But this one works better open. Okay, so I'm going to look around the edge of my frame and make sure that no little bits of glue managed to squeeze out. And if they did, then I can always just pull them off. All right, and now I am finished gluing in my purse.